Star Wars, one of the greatest achievements in science fiction, fantasy, and visual effects, debuted in 1977 and changed cinema forever. It launched an entertainment franchise worth billions and has thrilled audiences worldwide for nearly 50 years. While the original 6 movies were produced largely from the mind of its creator George Lucas, who obviously had a deep knowledge of the lore and history of the universe he had created, in a similar fashion to J.R.R. Tolkien in The Lord of the Rings, Lucas eventually sold the rights to the Star Wars franchise to Disney in 2012 for a total of $4.5 billion. Disney, under the leadership of Bob Iger, began the process of producing multiple movies and TV shows in the Star Wars universe, with many different writers and directors involved. At the time of this recording, there are now 11 theatrically released motion pictures, along with 5 live-action shows, multiple animated projects, and countless novels, games, and other media in the franchise. Perhaps inevitably, the internal consistency of the Star Wars universe doesn't hold up to much scrutiny. In this video, I'm going to highlight a major plot hole in every theatrically released Star Wars movie. And just for clarity, I'm going to take a look at these in the order of the movies released. Let's get started. Star Wars: A New Hope. In the original Star Wars movie released in 1977, the Galactic Empire planned to dominate the galaxy and wipe out the Rebel Alliance with their ultimate weapon, the Death Star. Death Star is a giant space station armed with a powerful laser that can destroy entire planets in one shot. Princess Leia's home planet of Alderaan finds this out the hard way when the station's commander, Grand Moff Tarkin, decides to make a demonstration of the Empire's new superweapon by destroying the peaceful planet. So clearly the Death Star is an extremely dangerous threat. However, it has one major design flaw. No, it's not the exhaust port that the rebels target at the end of the movie. It's the fact that it looks like it would take the Death Star forever to reach its next target. The Death Star is a space station, not a starship. We only see it actually move in one particular shot as it approaches Yavin at the climax of the movie. It seems to move really slow. There's no dialogue indicating that it has hyperdrive and can move at light speed. So if it can only move with maneuvering thrusters, then I don't think the rebels really needed to worry, as it would take a long time for the Death Star to travel to the nearest star system. Put this in perspective, the nearest star from us is 4 light years away. That means that light, travelling at 300,000 kilometers per second, would still need 4 years to reach the nearest star. The fastest spacecraft ever launched by humans would need tens of thousands of years to make that trip. So sorry Empire, I think a small exhaust port leading to the reactor was the least of the Death Star's design flaws. The Empire Strikes Back. Spoiler alert, Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. I know, hard to believe, isn't it? This slightly important piece of information about Luke's parentage is kept from him for most of his life by Obi-Wan Kenobi. In A New Hope, it kind of makes sense that Kenobi isn't entirely forthcoming when Luke asks about his father. Kenobi wants Luke to train to be a Jedi first, so it can be argued that wasn't the right time. However, in The Empire Strikes Back, Luke has spent some time training to be a Jedi with Yoda. Exactly how long is heavily debated amongst fans, but that's a topic for another video. Realizing his friends are in danger, Luke decides to head off to rescue them, knowing more than likely he will have to face Darth Vader in combat. Obi-Wan and Yoda try to convince Luke that this is a bad idea, since he hasn't finished his training yet. However, Luke has no intention of changing his mind and heads off to Bespin anyway. The big plot hole here is that it doesn't make sense that Obi-Wan and Yoda don't tell Luke about Vader being his father now. Yes, this news will most likely be devastating, but surely would be better coming from them rather than Vader, right? Particularly as Luke finds out Vader is his dad after getting his hand cut off. Obi-Wan and Yoda know that Luke's chances of winning his fight with Vader were between slim and none, so it wouldn't have been better if they told him no. It may not have stopped him from trying to rescue his friends, but maybe he would have been more emotionally prepared for this confrontation. I suppose it's just as well they didn't, as it would have robbed audiences of one of the greatest plot twists in cinema history. Return of the Jedi. By the time we revisit Luke in Return of the Jedi, he's become much more powerful and confident in his abilities. Luke is able to force choke opponents with such ease that would make his daddy proud, and is fearless when facing multiple enemies right in the middle of Jabba the Hutt's court. Unfortunately for Luke, he doesn't spot the trapdoor in the center of Jabba's throne room, and falls into a pit where he faces the powerful Rancor beast. Luke doesn't have his lightsaber and has to improvise when battling the monster, literally using sticks and stones. Big plot hole here is that Luke, for some reason, forgets that he can use the Force. After slowing the Rancor down temporarily by jamming a stick in its mouth, Luke makes a break for the exit, only to find the entrance locked. As the Rancor moves in for the kill, Luke spots the entrance hatch to the pit, waits until the beast is under it, grabs a rock, and throws it a short distance at the button that closes the hatch on the Rancor, killing it. Score 1 for Luke. However, you have to wonder why Luke felt it necessary to grab a rock and throw it at the button to shut the hatch. Luke is very adept at the Force at this stage in his Jedi career. Surely it would have been a simple matter for him to raise his hand and just use the Force to push the button. Seems a lot more likely to succeed using this method than actually throwing a rock. What if he had missed? This makes no sense. Phantom Menace. In The Phantom Menace, the first of the criminally underrated in my opinion Star Wars prequels, young Obi-Wan and his teacher Qui-Gon Jinn escape the planet Naboo while protecting the planet's queen Amidala. After being stranded on Tatooine, they meet future Darth Vader-to-be Anakin Skywalker, who wins a pod race to buy parts they need to fix their hyperdrive. Anakin and his mother Shmi are slaves, and Qui-Gon only manages to bargain that Anakin be freed, but not his mother. Anakin leaves Tatooine with his new friends, knowing it may take years before he sees his mother again. Okay, since they do make a point that Obi-Wan and his group are from the Republic, and that their credits have no value on Tatooine, it makes sense that they can't just buy Shmi out. Not immediately, anyway. However, the Queen is very, very rich, forms a bond with Anakin, and is obviously grateful to him for getting them off Tatooine. So why is it that after the heroes return to Naboo and win Amidala's home back, that they can't go back to Tatooine later and buy Shmi out? I know they mention Republic credits have no value, but the Queen is obviously very rich. Shouldn't there be some kind of credit exchange rate that works in this universe? I find it hard to believe that the Queen of Naboo can't come up with the money to buy Anakin's mother back from the Hutts. Even if you argue that the Jedi don't allow attachments, surely they would know it would be best for Anakin's mentality and training going forward, knowing that his mother was safe in slavery. Attack of the Clones. In Attack of the Clones, there's a very elaborate plot where the Trade Federation joins forces with ex-Jedi Knight Count Dooku to form the Separate Alliance. Part of this deal, turns out, is for Count Dooku to arrange the assassination of Queen Amidala. Dooku hires the bounty hunter Jango Fett to arrange this assassination, who in turn actually hires yet another assassin, a changeling named Zam Wesell, to actually carry out the assassination. Okay, can someone tell me why an assassin actually hires another assassin to do his job? We learned that Jango is an extremely skilled and dangerous bounty hunter, so why doesn't he carry out this assassination himself? We even learned that the first failed assassination attempt at the start of the movie was carried out by Wesell. You'd think that this would make Fett take matters into his own hands and do it himself. But it gets Wesell to try again by leaving poisonous slug-like creatures in Amidala's bedroom at night. This second attempt is foiled by the Jedi, and Jango is forced to kill Wesell before she spills her guts and tells them who hired her. So, can anyone explain why Fett would hire this amateur to do his own job? Some bounty hunter. Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith concludes with the destiny-defining duel between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker. While Kenobi wins the fight, the Jedi are almost entirely wiped out by the Empire and have taken control of the galaxy. While Darth Vader learns that his wife Padme is dead, he doesn't know that she gave birth to twins before this happened, and Obi-Wan, realizing that to keep the twins safe, he has to separate them and leave them to two different families to be raised in secret. Obi-Wan vows to watch over Luke while he can on Tatooine, and changes his first name to Ben, but doesn't bother changing his last name Kenobi. Okay, if Obi-Wan, or Ben, wants everyone to believe he's dead and actually goes to the bother of changing his first name, then why does he not change his last name of Kenobi to Smith or something? Did he not think this would raise any red flags if he got stopped at an Imperial checkpoint or something? They surely have to have some form of ID in the Star Wars universe, right? Even if you argue the possibility that the name Kenobi is a fairly common one in the Star Wars universe, why take the risk? If you're going to change your identity, you just can't do it halfway. Look at it this way. Can you imagine an escaped convict who gets his hands on enough money and resources to change his identity, not bother to change his first and last name? Didn't think so. The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens, the first movie of the Disney era, and having absolutely no input from series creator George Lucas. 30 years have passed since the rebellion defeated the Empire, and a new threat called the First Order rises to power. After the Empire, the First Order, destroys several planets in the New Republic, General Leia forms a resistance and tries to find Luke, who has vanished. At the end of the movie, the film's new heroine, Rey, manages to retrieve a map that shows Luke's location on a distant planet, and she, Chewbacca, and R2-D2 fly off in the Millennium Falcon to find Luke, and hopefully bring him into the fight. Okay, this is what I don't understand. Why does Leia not go? She is Luke's sister after all. This is a desperate mission, and the fate of the galaxy is at stake. Why does Leia let some complete stranger go on such an important mission to find her brother to help them win this war? Does she really think that Rey has a better chance at bringing Luke back than she does? Doesn't Luke deserve to hear about his brother-in-law and best friend Han Solo's death from Leia? This makes absolutely no sense to me. But no, Rey has to go because she's the bestest ever. Rogue One. Rogue One is set just before the events of The New Hope, and concerns the rebels' attempts to steal the planets to the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Death Star. During the final battle, Jyn Erso and her friends infiltrate the Imperial base on Scarif, where the plans are located. Pretty soon, this heist escalates into an all-out battle as the rebel fleet turn up to help. While Jyn manages to transmit the plans to a rebel ship in orbit, Darth Vader arrives, boards the ship, and starts slaughtering everybody, as one rebel manages to hand off the plans to someone on Princess Leia's ship, Tantive 4, which just happens to be docked with the larger rebel ship. Tantive 4 escapes, leading right into the beginning of A New Hope, as Vader chases them down. Okay, so what is Leia's ship doing here in the middle of this battle? Earlier in the film, her father Bail Organa mentions that he's going to send someone he trusts with his life, which we know he means his daughter Leia, to Tatooine, to call Obi-Wan Kenobi out of retirement. This is the mission that she's on at the start of A New Hope. Leia's ship should be nowhere near the Battle of Scarif, as she should be on her way to Tatooine. I know they needed to set up the ending of this film to lead into the beginning of A New Hope, so they somehow had to have her get the plans, but it seems like a contrived way to go about it. The Last Jedi. In The Last Jedi, the Resistance fleet evacuate their secret base and are being chased by the First Order. Over the course of the movie, we get probably the most drawn-out chase scene of all time, as the Resistance, manage to stay just ahead of the slower-moving First Order ships, as they wait for the Resistance ships to run out of fuel. When Admiral Holdo's absolutely terrific plan of evacuating small ships to a nearby planet goes wrong, due to the fact that she never considered that someone in the First Order fleet might actually look outside a window and see what was going on, she decides to stay behind and hyperdrives her ship into the First Order fleet. Not only does this not make any sense in the context of starship combat established in the previous movies, if this can actually be done, why didn't the rebels use this tactic on the Death Star at Yavin, for example? Why did Holdo have to stay behind and pilot the ship herself? This is a universe where they have droids and artificial intelligence. Couldn't she just use the autopilot feature? Solo. In Solo, a Star Wars story, we see a younger Han Solo played by Alden Ehrenreich team up with a band of criminals to steal a shipment of hyperdrive fuel called coaxium. When the heist goes wrong, and they lose the shipment, the local crime lord, Dryden Voss, threatens to kill them. Solo comes up with a new plan. He and his crew will steal a load of coaxium from the spice mine of Kessel. Voss shoots this down at first, as Kessel is run by the Pike Syndicate, and he doesn't want to go to war with them. Solo reasons that he and his crew are unknown to the Pikes, so they won't know that Dryden sanctioned this plan. Dryden seems convinced and agrees to this plan. Here's the problem. Dryden insists that Han take his right-hand woman Kira along with him to ensure that the heist goes as planned. However, it makes no sense that Dryden would do this, as everyone knows that Kira works for him. If she goes along on the heist and is seen, then the Pikes will surely find out that Dryden was behind the theft of their coaxium. Rise of Skywalker. The Rise of Skywalker, Emperor Palpatine turns out to still be alive, despite apparently dying in Return of the Jedi.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
He spent the last 30 years or so building a secret fleet of Star Destroyers all armed with Death Star cannons that can destroy planets. Okay, so how did Palpatine keep this secret? We're talking about an entire fleet of destroyers that he built here. That would have required a lot of manpower. Where did he find and recruit people for this task? Planet Exegol, where his base is located, is so secret that there are only 2 wayfinders in existence. Don't even get me started on those. So how did he get the thousands of people and troops he needed there in secret? Doesn't seem likely he could get away with that. Also, if Palpatine had miniaturized Death Star tech, he must have had it for a long while, given that it took a long time to build this fleet. If that was the case, what was the point of Starkiller Base in Force Awakens? He could have just armed a First Order fleet with these weapons from the get-go. It's almost as if the writers of this trilogy had absolutely no idea where they were going with this story when they started it and made it up as they went along. Surely they couldn't have been that stupid, right? So that's my list of 1 plot hole, maybe 2 or more in some cases, for every live-action Star Wars movie. I'm sure there are many more in each movie that I didn't cover. These are the ones that stood out to me the most. Let me know in the comments what your favourite plot holes are in the Star Wars movies. Or did you disagree with any of my choices? Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then please give it a like. Consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. Share with your friends. Click the bell for notifications. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.